Have you been considering making the move to Denver, Colorado, and you need to know what are the steps in order to get there? Well, in today's video, I am doing my top 6 things you need to know before relocating to the Denver, Colorado area. If that's something that you're interested in, go ahead and keep on watching. Welcome back to Colorado Living. I'm Nicole Baker. Today we're going over exactly that. But before we get started, you know the drill. I have to let you guys know I'm a licensed realtor here and I would love to assist you. My number and email are popping up, but if you're not quite ready to reach out yet, go ahead and subscribe. I post videos every Monday and Wednesday at 5 p.m. all about the relocation process, different suburbs, and really anything and everything in Denver, Colorado. So like I said, go ahead and subscribe, but let's get started in today's video. Like I said, we're doing top 6 things. These are not in any specific order, but my number 1 is definitely going to be research, and more research. So I know tons of you guys have probably already been watching my videos for quite some time now, and you have just been subscribed and watching anything and everything that you can watch about the Denver, Colorado area. And I say 100% you are doing what is right. It is not something where you can just necessarily, I mean, I guess you could, but it's not something I would personally do where I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna move and then just move next week. There's lots of things that come into play when it comes to relocating, especially if you guys do have jobs that you just can't just relocate or all of these things, right? So there's so much to do. One of the things that I would highly suggest that you're researching as soon as you possibly can is neighborhoods and the different areas that you can be living in the Denver metro area. So something that's a little bit different about Denver than I think some other states, it just depends on where you're coming from. When I came to Denver, right, because I'm originally from Arizona, so I definitely know how, I know the pains of relocating because it's definitely tough, especially when you just don't have anyone to reach out to. You're like, where, how, when, what, where, yeah, all of those things, right? So Denver is so huge, right? Like if you were gonna put a pin right in the middle of Denver, you could literally probably go at least 45 minutes out and still be in what's considered like a Denver suburb. So there's a lot of options when it comes to that, and they all have different feels, different price points, all of those things. So figuring out what neighborhood works best for you and your family is going to be something super important. Typically, you probably are looking at things like price point, schools, and like style of home even, and like proximity to the things that you want. I think style of home is a really interesting one. So a lot of the times, you know, there's different cities that have different types of homes, I would say. So like Southeast Aurora has lots and lots of tract homes, newer builds, that kind of feel. And then we'll say Littleton has a lot of ranch style homes, lots of character, all of those things that you probably are gonna have a really hard time finding in Southeast Aurora. Or for example, Castle Rock. Castle Rock doesn't really have a lot of older homes. Yes, they definitely do have older homes, but it's nothing like how Littleton is. Littleton has lots and lots of character. If you like the ranch style, single story, like bungalow kind of vibe, Littleton is a really great spot, but not every single city is gonna have that. So doing your research when it comes to that is really important. And then schools, of course, you guys know the drill with that. If you guys are interested with schools at all, go ahead and check out the links below. It'll give you tons of information on schools and even neighborhoods. Niche.com is one that I am always suggesting to you guys. Pretty please go on there, check it out. It has literally like rankings for every single like neighborhood, suburb, city, all of that, schools on there. I mean, it's an endless thing of information. So if you're looking to relocate, pretty please do your research and reach out to me because I will help you do your research too. Next thing we we are going to chat about is going to be planning your move around the crazy Denver, Colorado weather. Yes, we are super mild here in this city, but there's random days where it snows. And if you are driving your own U-Haul and things like that, you definitely want to be planning around that, or even just like, it's kind of hot during the summer. So if you don't have to move during the summer, that's always my thought process. I try to do that. Or yeah, like I said, winter, is it going to be the best time to move? I mean, there's a lot of good benefits to it, whether it be not as many people are trying to buy houses during the winter because it's during the holidays, kids are in school, all of those things. So you might be able to get a better deal, but will it snow? Are you willing to be a little bit flexible for the right price? Totally up to you, but making sure you're planning seasonally on like how you're going to move, what to expect. If you're just moving from one state away, it might be a little bit easier than moving from multiple states away. And how are you going to prepare for that so you make sure you don't have any delays when it comes to getting your stuff, because that is super annoying. Luckily for me, I decided to do a U-Haul and we drove it from Arizona over to Colorado. But that's a very short drive compared to some of the drives that you guys are making. I personally will never do that drive again, hopefully in my lifetime, because I hated every second of it, but it also saved me a lot of money. If I was coming from Florida, absolutely not. I'm no way at all going to do that kind of drive. So making sure you guys are checking out prices of that stuff, when the cheapest seasons are for those prices as well. So for example, like the spring, summertime is always going to be more expensive for anything housing, right? So like your moving costs double the price than they would be because it's going into that busy season. And unfortunately, people just, mark up the prices when that kind of stuff happens. So keep that in mind. There's a lot of different factors, but definitely plan around the Denver, Colorado weather if you can. Like I mentioned, this is in no specific order, but I would say this is a huge one that you definitely need to consider before making the move to Denver, Colorado, is a budget. And when I say budget, there's so many different factors. Like I'm talking like budget for moving, budget for house, how much do I need to make in order to live here? I'm not shy to say Denver, Colorado is very expensive to live in. So you want to make sure you know how much is your house payment going to potentially be before making the move out here, because I don't want you guys to get out here, get an apartment, get super excited to buy a house in 6 months and you are screwed because you didn't realize the prices of houses are pretty extreme out here. So definitely keep that in mind. If you guys have questions on how much you can afford, is this price going to be realistic in your area? Again, reach out to me. I have lots of connects, specifically some amazing local lenders for you guys that will definitely help you out on getting that whole budget set up for you. When it comes to budgeting for your move, this is why I always suggest that you guys start checking out these different moving companies in advance, because I think that's one of the major costs of moving is like actually getting here, right? So like for example, pods during the summertime, if you're only moving one state away, might cost you $2,000, but if you're moving from Florida again, that might be a completely different cost. Or you might have checked it during the winter time, but now it's springtime and it's time for you guys to move in a couple months. The prices might be different. So keep this all in mind. Make sure you have a budget set up. The U-Haul prices and all the prices of moving stuff is always changing. So you want to make sure that you're following up and being consistent with your research essentially and your budgeting, because again, I don't want you guys to get here and be in a bad situation. Another thing that you want to keep in mind is your budget and planning for the cost of living when it comes to your car insurance, because it's going to be more expensive probably depending on where you're moving. Again, like my insurance went up about $50-ish when I moved out here to Colorado. I have a brand new car. It's already kind of expensive. So I don't know if that $50 is going to make or break you, but it's important. And then also, I only have to take care of my car, but if you guys have one income and you have 3 cars, that's another maybe potentially $200 a month on your car insurance. So things like this, like little what do they say, minute things that you might have not even thought about, but definitely you want to think about. Getting your car registered here. How much is that gonna cost? I have a full cost of living video all about the Denver, Colorado area, and I plan to make a more updated one here shortly, just so you guys can have as much information. Again, the budgeting is probably, again, one of the biggest things you have to consider before making a move here. So keep that in mind. Okay, next thing, finding a job. That's obviously, I think that goes without saying how important that could possibly be, and or figuring out, can your company relocate you? Can you work virtually? What is the plan for how you're going to make money when you move here? When it comes to moving and buying a house right when you guys get here, something very important is how they are going to qualify you to purchase this home. There are definitely ways. You don't have to necessarily have your job when you get here, but it's kind of like, there's so many different variables. I'm not a lender, so I can't really speak on that too much, but you could do an offer letter if your company is okay with you working remote, things like that. There's definitely ways around it, but I would say you want to plan that. Make sure you know how much you're going to be making, because that kind of, filters into the budget plan, and just making sure you guys are set up to be where you want to be and the pay makes sense for the budget and all of the things. I think it goes without saying that you guys want to make sure that you are planning for a good job here and making sure you can even get a job or it's in the field that you want. I mean, there's a million different variables when it comes to jobs. Just keep that in mind before relocating. All right, guys, now is the time you got all the budget, you got the neighborhood figured out, you got the job. Now it's time to start actually making the moves to get here, right? So we want to make sure we are planning the movers. Just like I mentioned before, we want to actually be locking in these dates and making sure you guys have a plan. I'm like a psycho planner when it comes to anything in life. So if you guys are like me, you probably already had this in mind, but definitely lock in your movers, lock in where you're going to live. Like, are you going to get an Airbnb for a month while we start searching for homes? Are you going to get a 6-month apartment? Are you going to get an apartment? Are we going to do virtual tours and have you set up to get into a house right away? All of these things, super, super important. So now it's time to actually start locking in these things to figure out what we're going to do moving forward. And then you want to actually get here. So we want to set dates as well. A hard date, get excited, get nervous. It's definitely a tough one, but I think it is all part of the journey. Making sure you have that plan and really sticking to it is super important while trying to relocate. So keep that in mind. Last but not least is getting involved with the community. You can do this before you move out here, or you can do it after. I would suggest even reaching out to some people beforehand, getting on Facebook, and if you have Facebook or Instagram or really anything, I'm sure they have forums, maybe Reddit, I don't know, but definitely getting part of these groups that are people that you think you might enjoy being around. So moving out here is going to be kind of tough, especially if you're a very social person. Relocating is always going to be a little bit harder for people like that because they don't have that sense of community yet. I think trying to really set your community before you get here, luckily for you guys, like Colorado is seriously the nicest people. Me and my past clients always are talking about it, or anyone that's relocated here, honestly. We always talk about how it's like the people here are so much nicer than the states that we came from. Like for me in Arizona, people are heads down. They don't want to talk to you. They don't want to bother. at all. Like you can't even go knock on your neighbor's door, that kind of thing. Versus Colorado, we want to talk. Like sometimes I'm not a very social person. Granted, I do make these videos and I love my clients, but outside of that, I'm not like this, like want to go out and do all these fun things really. I'm definitely a homebody. But if you guys enjoy that kind of stuff, there's so many different groups, whether you guys be, you know, in your mid 30s, there's groups for that. Whether you're a mom and you have kids, there's groups for that, specifically to Colorado or even specifically to your like little subdivision. For example, I do live in Copperleaf. I am part of the Copperleaf community Facebook page, and I meet so many people in my community all the time. I throw events for my community, and people are doing that in whatever community that you are probably going to be moving to. There's also like nature-y groups, right? So like whether it be women who enjoy mountain biking, guys, I'm literally making up things, right? Like there's a group for every single thing. And I think getting involved in a community, somewhere where you can also ask questions, going back to that research thing, you'll definitely enjoy it and you'll find value. And I would say pretty much any group that you join. Guys, that's it for today's video. Hopefully this will help you plan out your relocation a little bit better. I know these are all very broad and doesn't necessarily give you exact step-by-step process. If you guys want to set up a step-by-step process, go ahead and reach out to me. My number and email are popping up. I love just setting up a Zoom call with you guys, going over anything and everything that you want to know and how to plan accordingly for what you guys are trying to do. So yeah, like I said, go ahead and reach out if you have questions on that. Like this video if you found value in it, or if you're excited to move to Denver, Colorado. If you're thinking about watching a relocation video, I'm assuming you might be wanting to relocate here. And I will definitely say it's going to be probably the best decision you've ever made. I have not regretted living here 1 second. I am obsessed. But until next time, guys, I will see you later. Bye.